Do you want to feel like a god? Who but an immortal can shape stone through the passage of time with the forces of nature? Well, you can actually. You can shape stone. What's up? I'm Jane Sawyer, and this is Jane Sawyer Makes a Stone Carving. Stone carving is something I've always wanted to try, but it's been really expensive to get into. Or so I thought, until I actually got a targeted Instagram ad from this company called Rubble Road. They provide really affordable stone carving kits for people at all different levels, making stone carving more accessible and more affordable than I ever thought. I reached out and asked if they'd send me one, and they were kind enough to do so. So this content is not sponsored by them, but they did send me the kit for free. We're gonna give it a try and a review, and you're gonna get all my honest thoughts on what it feels like to carve stone. Okay, let's check out the kit. It comes in this little box here. You can see that Rubble Road estimates that this kit will take you about 1 to 2 hours. The small kits are like a low relief carving that's meant to be viewed from one side. Okay, we've got some instructions, and let's see here. 60 grit abrasive mesh, and then 320 grit and 600 grit sandpapers. This is interesting. In woodworking, we would never jump from a 60 grit to a 320 grit, so we'll have to see how that does. There's also a little vial of oil with a cotton bud. Okay, let's pull out the stone. You can see the fox shape has already been blocked out with a bandsaw. Oh wow, the colors in this stone are gorgeous. I love that band of yellow running through there. I think I got really lucky. This stone has lots of character. I like to be comfy when I'm doing my project, so I'm gonna take a minute to set up. Before I start, I'm going to use these 2 plastic bins to set up a comfortable workspace. The whole project is carved wet. This is both for lubrication of the abrasives and so that there's no dust. I'm filling one bin with nice warm water, and I'm flipping the second bin upside down and using that as an armrest. Rubble Road has a real-time video tutorial for each of their kits. I'll have that playing off screen. I'll link their YouTube channel in the description. All right, let's shape some stone. I'm gonna throw on some gloves here. There's nothing toxic or anything I'm worried about. My hands just get really chapped this time of year. The first step is to start by carving some lines to define your fox's foreleg. You're only going to shape one side of the stone, so pick the prettiest to be the front. Fold the 60 grit mesh in half, and it really cuts through the stone quite perfectly. I'm not really having to push or put a ton of effort in. Next, you're going to create some depth by removing the stone on the background legs. I found it really helpful to look at a reference image for this. It helped me figure out which legs would be in the background. The next step is to define the tail. I made a little whoopsie here. I carved the line like this, but I should have done it more like this. If I have any criticism or critique of Rubble Road's instruction, it was that this part was a bit hard to see. It's okay, I was able to fix it, but be careful of that. This is the challenge with reductive sculpture. You can't put the material back on. So I just continued with carving down the legs. I had a bit of trouble getting the abrasive in between the toes, so I just cut a smaller strip. And then I could really get in there to shape the feet how I wanted. The stone is really buttery and the abrasive is really efficient. It doesn't take long to reduce that thickness on the background legs there. Now this is the clip where I rounded the back, and I had to try to remedy that wonky tail carving I mentioned earlier. So the back is maybe a little narrower than is ideal, but I'm still happy with it. Plus it just makes the tail look a little extra poofy. The next step is to shape out the face. In the instructional video, they just removed that front ear entirely, but I wanted to keep it, so we'll sand that into the background a bit. And lastly, I wanted my fox to have a very pointy nose, so I removed a lot of material around the muzzle. Now that we have all the basic forms all shaped out, we can rinse out that 60 grit mesh and set it aside. Now we can move on to polishing. For the polishing stage, we jump right into the 320 grit paper. I must admit, I was a little suspicious that this would work. When sanding down most other materials, you would step through grits really gradually. If I was sanding wood, for instance, I would go from a 60 grit to maybe an 80 grit, then a 120, a 220, etc. But even through my glove, I could feel the difference with just a little bit of sanding. And you can even tell on camera, all those scour marks from the mesh are gone pretty quickly. I'm wrapping the paper around the scissors here just to support the paper in areas where my fingers won't fit. For the really tiny creases, I just folded the paper in half. This whole step took about 10 minutes, I'd say. When you've polished all the little nooks and crannies with the 320 grit, you give your sculpture a good rinse. I actually changed out my water here too. Make sure you dump this outside or into a plant or something. All your cuttings will be in the bottom of your bin, and you don't want to put that into your plumbing. And then with fresh water, you just repeat the polishing with the 600 grit paper. When you're done, rinse your project really well at the sink with fresh running water. Okay, so now that it is carved and polished and rinsed off, we're going to want to let it dry overnight before we put on the finishing oil. So we're going to set that down, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. She's dry. Okay, let's finish our fox. Here's a little vial of finishing oil that comes with the kit. Oh baby, look at those colors. Holy moly, this is awesome. This is tung oil. It's a really high quality plant-based oil that comes from the seeds of a tung tree. You just smear it on there with the cotton bud. Ugh, so gorgeous. Okay, so we'll leave this for an hour and then we'll come back and wipe off any excess. Okay, it's been a bit more than an hour, but I'm just gonna give this a gentle burnish with the paper towel. I could do a second coat here, but I'm kind of loving this satin finish that we've got going on here. There's plenty of oil left, so I'll just hang on to it in case I change my mind later and want a glossier look. Okay, here are my final thoughts. At time of posting, this kit retails for about $25 Canadian. For me, this is really great value. Carving stone is just a really cool thing to do, and I love my little fox. I will keep this forever. The tools in the kit were more than adequate to complete my fox. The sanding papers still had lots of life in them, and I had plenty of oil left over. I don't have much negative to say about the experience. The one caveat is that stone carving in general is a bit unforgiving. If you make a mistake, you can't put the stone back on, but that goes for any reductive sculpting technique. So in conclusion, I think you should give this one a try. It's a very cool project at a really good value. Hit that like button for me. Leave a comment if you've ever tried stone carving or if you order one of Rubble Road's kits. Let me know, and let me know how it went for you. Check out my socials, read the build article for this and all my projects over at janesawyermakes.com, and I will see you on the next one.